show. Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I'm going to give a recap of my visit to the Saratoga Comic Con that was May 6th through the 8th. And for people who've been around the channel a little bit or just interested in what I do, that's a Comic Con I normally set up at. It's in my hometown, basically. And did not set up this time around. I was out of the country for most of the preceding weeks. So I wasn't ready. I didn't want to just go there and not be ready to sell and just have a bad experience for me and anyone who walked up to the table. So I did not go there to sell. I did bring books with me to trade if that was possible, and I'll talk about that in a second. None of my family went with me because everyone was either getting ready for lacrosse or track meets or other stuff happening in their lives. I've got teenagers now, so they're not quite as interested in going to Comic Cons anymore, which is kind of sad. But, things happen. So I went by myself, had a good time, but before I could buy a single comic book, this happened. So that happened, and it took about, I don't know, like 25, 30 minutes to get everything back in order and for everyone to enter the building again as we were evacuated. And then I made my first deals and kind of hurried it up because it was getting later in the day. I didn't actually get there till I don't think 1:30, so it was a little bit later before I even got there. So I was running out of time, and so I made a few deals. Now I'll talk about the deals I made and the deals I didn't make as we talk about it, and just the idea of trading at a Comic-Con. So on the new stuff I went and bought. I bought this Nathan Zerdy foil Poison Ivy book, and so I'll talk about a little bit. Is I'm a huge Poison Ivy fan from a comic book cover perspective. Again, I buy comic book cover variants of either artists I like or subject matter I like. And I collect rare variants as well. And then I collect Golden Age and Spider-Man. So that's like the three areas I really collect in comic books. So I really like the cover. I like him as an artist. I will just say this, is that the amount of foil variants and Poison Ivy in general is getting tons of variants now because they sell pretty well, I reckon. So that is why we're seeing a lot more of them. But I do think the Whatnot books and all these variants are going to eventually erode. So I don't look for buying these books as often as I used to. Now, this was thrown into a deal I was working on with a seller. So it really was actually a freebie. It was just kind of like, hey, I want this book too. And they're like, okay, well, if you do this, we'll do this. And it kind of came out to where this book was pretty reasonable priced when I bought it. So not a big deal. There's only like one of these on eBay, so they're not that easy to find. All right. Next up is starting in. So one of the things I haven't done too much, I haven't given you guys much on the comic book content update, but I've been purchasing a ton of Silver Age books. I really don't have much in Silver Age, and I wanted to get more heavy into it. So I've been kind of looking at, Silver Age as kind of just a more fun thing for me to pick up. So I've got this Fantastic Four number 69, Giggity. Not a key book, but it's a cool cover. I like it because it's just an action cover. It's like, people are fighting on the front of the cover, and it's kind of very Silver Age to me. And again, none of the prices on these books are the real prices I end up paying, because obviously you negotiate a little bit, and that's just how things are done. But still not that expensive a book. It's got a little bit of a spine roll, but no splits, no tears. It's a pretty nice book, really. So I grade it probably like a 6 to 7, maybe a little bit higher than that. For this press. So to me, a good start, picking up a cool Fantastic Four book. Next up is a series of Batman books I picked up from the same seller. So, and nothing here is key, but just cool covers. Now, this one is creased down the middle. You can see it there. There's creases on that side. So, again, it's Batman 123, but it's a 10 center. So, I have much more forgiveness on a 10 center. But I like this cover. I like the purple. I like the Batman and Robin on the cover. There's a dog on the cover. It's just like fugitive Batman. It's a nice book. Presents very well. It's lower grade in that 3-ish category, but it's still a cool early Batman book. And again, 123. Love it. Love it. Next up is probably the nicest condition of all the Batman books I purchased, number 132. Again, not a key book. It doesn't have anything happening in it that's a first appearance of key, but it does say Lair of the Sea Fox. I like the underwater visualness of the book, I guess. It does kind of have a weird perspective, because you're hinting that these guys are underwater, being towed by this guy who I'm assuming is underwater, but you can't really tell. It looks like he may be on top of the water. It's just a kind of an odd perspective, how it's drawn. But it's cool colors. It's a very watercolorish type book in terms of the color palette. It's actually very nice on the spine, and it's not as rolled, not as many creases. Again, a little bit of chipping down. Actually, not a lot of chipping at all. Maybe a little bit on this top edge. So, really nice book. Clean copy. Batman 132. Again, a 10 center. All right, pulling up the coolest cover, but the worst condition. That's how it always works. Batman 142, 12 center. So, but this is a very cool Robin cover. Now, I've always thought these were really fun covers when they did these Joker, like kind of crazy covers where you got, a Joker bat, Joker flying through the air, another Joker over here. Ironically, my son, who is now the new Robin, is. So now you got a redhead Robin. So a lot of craziness on this number 145. Again, this is definitely not the greatest condition. It's got spine roll. It's got a lot of creases, a lot of color breaks, creases over here. So again, this is a low grade copy, crease through right here. So this is that, 2.0 to 3.0 type book. But it's a cool looking Batman book. It's got that deep red color, multiple Jokers on the cover. So who doesn't like Joker on the cover? 12 center Batman there. All right, next up is some X-Men books. And again, I've been really picking up a lot of X-Men. So first up here is X-Men number 30. Really nice purple color. Again, a little bit of spine roll there. Increasing. Yep. See the spine. Other than that, though, and this crease here, I mean, it's again, but it has really good color. And so from that perspective, it's very attractive for a low grade copy. And again, it was I got all the X-Men from the same dealer. So I think I was at about 70% off the entire, about 70% of the comps of 30% off, I think was the final deal we came to. From his cover price or his sticker price. So, again, these books are fun to get, an early X-Men 30, nice color, cool action. You got the whole team here. Just a very nice book. All right. Next up, trying not to make a big mess here. Next up is X-Men number 128. Again, not a key book from a first appearance or what's happening perspective. I think it's close to the Dark Phoenix saga, but The day reality went wild. So I remember the story as a kid. I thought it was a cool story as a kid. It's a very nice copy. I'll show you the spine. It's got, I think a little bit, maybe a tick right there. And a little bit of spine roll right there. So, but still very nice copy. No major creases. Great color. Real cool copy for this, for the price point. And again, I'm just picking up these, Silver Age, Bronze Age, books because I just don't have any copies of this. And doubles are fine for me because, again, my idea is to build up some volume of these books. And when I go to comic book shows, I want to have, some nice runs of X-Men books and different DC Marvel books to choose from. Because that is something I feel like people are starting. I see more people putting runs together, and even myself, I might, decide eventually to put a run together. So, but here's X-Men number 128. Next up is a book that has something going on. It's X-Men 133, and this is a cool book because it is the first appearance of Wolverine by himself on a cover for the X-Men. So it's, his first solo X-Men cover appearance. It's a nice cover. A lot of people like this cover. I think it's nice, but he's fighting some kind of like really nameless, faceless drone dudes. So it's cooler if it was like him with Sabretooth or something, a little bit more iconic, but it's still a really nice cover. So 133, and it's something that people have identified as, first early appearance of Wolverine that is, great because it's in the X-Men book and it's his first one as a solo cover. So there you go, X-Men 133. Now let's look at the spine. It is pretty nice. It has a little bit right there by the staple, which is normal. There you go. Not much going on. This is a really clean copy of X-Men 133. Now, next up is probably the most key book, maybe. I don't know. I guess not the most expensive, but to me, it's the coolest book. I always love this cover, and it's X-Men 134, and it's basically, again, the last book was part of that Dark Phoenix saga. So this is where, she goes from Phoenix to Dark Phoenix. So this is like the transformation into Dark Phoenix, and I love the color of the cover. Just classic. This is a really important issue of X-Men from a storytelling perspective. So it's not the most expensive book, but a lot of people love this book. And high grade, I know people really collect it. And this is a nice copy. You can see the spine right there. Not much going on there in terms of spine ticks, spine roll. It's a flat book. A little bit of chipping on right there. So again, not a 998 copy, but it's still really nice raw X-Men book. And for people putting together nice looking runs, this is something that a lot of people would want to own if they're doing that. All right, that's the raw books, and then we're going to go into the graded books. Now, the first one here on the graded side, I may have to pull out my here we go. I think you can see it pretty well. It's the She-Hulk 1 Scotty Young variant from 2022. So the reboot of the series, multiple reboots, but it's signed. It's a 9.6. It's not a super popular Scotty Young. It's not, like one that's coming up, which is popular. But my daughter likes She-Hulk, and I got this book for her, and she thought it was cool, and she likes Scotty Young art, and I do too. And I thought it was cool to get her one that was signed, and it wasn't super expensive. So it was all part of the deal I made with the guy. All these graded books came from the same deal. So there you go. Scotty Young, She-Hulk 1, signed 9.6. All right. Next up. Sorry, trying not to knock anything over here. Next up, again, Poison Ivy. I'm a big Poison Ivy fan. So here is a Cho variant. This book actually, on the census, I've seen it's actually kind of rare. It's not that easy to find. I forget what ratio this was, but it's a pretty high ratio in terms of, like one. I think it's either 1 in 50 or even higher. So I love this cover when it came out. I think it's Just a very nice representation of Ivy. And we're seeing, again, a lot of covers with her on it. But this is one I've been targeting, and it's a 9.8. So I can just stick it in my variant cover collection, Poison Ivy collection, and just say, I'm done. I don't need any more copies of this book. I've got the 9.8. And it was part of a deal, again, with all these other graded books. And I love the cover art. And like I said, Jenny Frison's been kind of the cover artist of choice for Ivy, but Cho does a great Ivy as well. So really fun book, and I'm glad I got it in a 9.8, and I don't have to worry about adding it to my collection anymore. I've got the copy I need. And then last but not least is a book I've wanted for a long time. It is the Venom Deadpool What If. This is one of my favorite Scotty Young covers, and it is fairly expensive. It's definitely a book that you see not very often on the census. It's from 2011. So this book is 12 years old. So it's not like it's a book that you see very often. And it's, again, signed a 9.4. Again, I do think a 9.4 in this isn't as big a deal because it's signed. But, obviously, people want 9.8s and 9.6s. But this book does sell, again, pretty well. I've had multiple copies of the book. I've sold over, $400 or more. So this was a really good pickup for me because, again, you don't see these very often. This was not a heavy print run book either because it's a what if. And again, I really have been wanting this one for a while. So, from a variant collector perspective, it's just one of those books that I really was glad to see at a show. And I was able to get a deal on it. And the guy had it priced really, really good. So for people who like these kind of books, these variant covers, this is one of the ones that a lot of people have on their list because you just don't see it very often. Or they're priced high at a show. So the last thing I want to talk about is, just the show vibe and sort of like how the show, or how just Comic Cons are different than, than sports card conventions. I'll put this back up just so something to look at. First of all, the vibe was pretty good. Dealers were there in force, compared to years in the past. So more people there selling comics. The thing I heard more often than not is this: was nobody was looking to buy and no one was looking to trade that often on the dealer side. I heard more than once, I've got enough inventory. I need to move. I'm here to move inventory. I'm not here to gain more inventory. And that's a fair position as a dealer to take, but it just shows you a little bit of what's going on in the comic market, which is a saturation of inventory. Similar to last year at the National for sports cards, just a lot of inventory. People just don't want to accumulate more. They have enough inventory there. They're looking to sell. They don't want to have any more inventory. It's just not great for them to have, that much inventory on hand anymore. And so that's fine. But that is a very different thing from my experience than when I go to comic or sports card shows. I've always been able to sell and trade at a sports card show, like every one I've ever been at, even the National. So for dealers to be so negative on anything, and didn't even want to look in the bags, didn't even want to look at what you had. So that was a little interesting. Second thing is, there was one dealer who had a really, really nice, I call them modern to Bronze Age collection. So a lot of, McFarlane Batman cover, which is like 424, 423. I always get the numbers mixed up. You've got, the McFarlane Batman Cape, Spawn Cape prequel type book. You've got the ASM 300. You've got, he had some Nintendo Powers. He had some Wizard books. So like things that are kind of hot right now, just a lot of them in different grades. So I thought about, making a deal for ASM 309.6 and, the McFarlane book, Batman cover, but I just didn't do it because of a lot of reasons. And there's some other books I was looking at too, but I just feel like right now, those kind of big books, I think could still go down a little bit. And so I'm just a little hesitant to see where things go. I might be able to get a 9.6 cheaper. I think he had like 1,600 or 2,000 on his. So to me, even if I got it down a little bit, I'm thinking that that book might even hit 1,200 at some point, and that's where I might be buying. So I don't know if it stabilizes around 14 to $1,600. I probably could have got it there from him for that, and then that would have been a good deal. I might go lower. So again, I'm just not wanting to, spend just to spend. I wanted to make sure if I'm going to buy some books at that point, because those are really personal collection books. I don't need to do it right now. I can wait and just see how the market does. I've already got a 9.2, so it's an upgrade for me. And I'm really looking for an autographed McFarlane. That's a 9.6 or above. So that's what I'm really looking for. 9.6 or above autographed McFarlane. So, that also, he didn't have that. So, that was a little bit of a reason why I didn't make the movie either. So, at the end of the day for the show, it was positive. I was in and out quick. I didn't have to, deal with other people with me, which is always good to have people with you. But by being by myself, I was able just to go look at books and leave, out without notwithstanding the fire alarm issue that happened. Picked up some cool books. I think my Silver Age collection's come along nicely. A lot of nice books there, and the deals were easy to do, and so that was fun. So it was a nice low key Comic-Con. Picked up some cool books. Didn't pick up some great, holy grails, big time books, but enough small books and books I've been looking for and books that make me happy. So it's fun, low key, and can't wait to go to the next Comic-Con. I'm going to go to Terrificon in Connecticut as my next big Comic-Con. So if you're going there, maybe I'll see you there. But let me know what you think about what I picked up, and see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.
Sound